Picture this. You're in a tent in the Arctic. It's 2:30 a.m. Suddenly, something massive tears through the fabric. Before you can even scream, you're being dragged across the ice by your head. The bite force crushing your skull is 200 pounds per square inch. This isn't a nightmare. This happened to Matt Dyer in 2013, and somehow he lived to tell about it. Here's what they don't tell you about polar bears. They are the only bears on Earth that actively hunt humans as food. Not for defense, not to protect their cubs. They see you as a meal. And get this, since the year 2000, polar bear attacks have shifted dramatically. Nearly 90% now happen when the bears are starving during ice-free months. Climate change isn't just melting ice. It's literally driving the world's largest land predator straight into our communities. Now, you might think, okay, but I'm never going to the Arctic. But here's the thing. Arctic tourism has exploded. Over 70,000 people visited Svalbard alone last year. Churchill, Manitoba gets 10,000 visitors annually, all coming to see polar bears. And with Arctic development booming and sea ice vanishing, these encounters are skyrocketing. Even experienced researchers with electric fences, flare guns, and rifles are getting attacked. A 17-year-old British student was killed despite having armed guards. A geological research team was ambushed at their camp. These aren't random incidents. They're part of a pattern that scientists have finally decoded. But here's where it gets interesting. After analyzing every single documented polar bear attack since 1870, talking to Inuit hunters who've lived alongside these predators for generations, and testing every piece of survival equipment in Arctic conditions, we've discovered something remarkable. There's one tool that stops polar bears 95% of the time. One response that survivors consistently credit with saving their lives. And one deadly mistake that almost everyone makes because it works with other bears. But with polar bears, it's a death sentence. So whether you're planning that bucket list Arctic expedition, or you just want to know how humans can possibly survive an encounter, with an 100-pound predator that can smell you from 20 miles away and run faster than an Olympic sprinter. What you're about to learn could be the difference between an incredible story and becoming a statistic. Because when it comes to polar bears, everything you think you know about surviving bear attacks, it's dead wrong. The polar bear predator, understanding apex Arctic behavior. Let's talk about what makes polar bears fundamentally different from every other bear you've heard about. Because understanding their psychology, how they think, hunt, and make decisions, that's what's going to keep you alive. See, when most people think bear attack, they picture a grizzly protecting her cubs or a black bear defending a carcass. That's defensive behavior. The bear wants you gone, not dead. But polar bears? They operate on completely different software. Scientists studying attack patterns discovered something chilling. 59% of polar bear attacks are purely predatory. They're not trying to scare you away. They're trying to eat you. And this isn't some random aggressive behavior. It's calculated, methodical. Think about it. These animals evolved to hunt seals through 3 feet of Arctic ice. They'll wait motionless at a breathing hole for 14 hours straight. 14 hours, just waiting for one perfect strike opportunity. That same patience, that same precision, that same deadly focus. That's what they bring to hunting humans. Researchers tracking polar bears in Hudson Bay uncovered something fascinating about how these predators operate. They discovered bears exist in 3 distinct behavioral modes, like a computer switching between programs. And knowing which mode a bear is in? That could save your life. Mode 1, drift mode. This is when bears become living statues. For 47% of their time, nearly half their lives, polar bears are essentially powered down, conserving every calorie. They'll position themselves at seal breathing holes or along pressure ridges where seals surface. And here's the terrifying part. In drift mode, a bear can explode from complete stillness to full attack in under 2 seconds. Imagine a 100-pound spring-loaded trap that's been waiting there for half a day. You wouldn't even know it was there until it was too late. Mode 2, the search pattern. For 29% of their time, bears enter what scientists call olfactory search mode. Picture this. A polar bear walks perpendicular to the wind, creating an invisible net across the landscape. Their nose sweeps back and forth like a radar dish, sampling billions of scent molecules. They can detect a seal's breathing hole under 3 feet of snow from nearly a mile away. A dead whale? 20 miles. And humans? Well, we smell like a buffet of interesting odors. Do deodorant, food, fuel, fabric softener. To a bear in search mode, you're broadcasting your location like a beacon. Mode 3, area restricted searching. This is when things get serious. Once a bear locks onto potential prey, that remaining 24% of their time, their entire behavior changes. They start making tight circles, investigating every crack in the ice, every snowdrift, every unusual shape. They're closing in. And here's what's crucial. Once a bear enters this mode focused on you, normal deterrents become far less effective. They've already decided you're worth the energy investment. But how do they make that decision? How does a polar bear look at a human and decide prey versus threat? This is where it gets really interesting. Unlike grizzlies who make split-second defensive decisions, polar bears are evaluators. They're running a complex calculation that would make a chess player jealous. They're assessing your size. Are you alone or in a group? Your behavior. Are you acting like prey or predator? Your condition. Do you appear weak, injured, distracted? And most importantly, their own nutritional state. A well-fed bear might watch you with mild curiosity. A starving bear sees calories that could mean survival. And this is where those body condition statistics become terrifying. Remember, 61% of bears involved in fatal attacks were malnourished. These aren't random aggressive bears. These are desperate predators making a calculated gamble that you're worth the risk. Now, you need to understand the difference between curiosity and predation, because mixing these up gets people killed. A curious polar bear moves like it's investigating a puzzle. Head high, ears forward, frequent stops. They might stand on their hind legs. They're trying to see better, smell better. They'll circle at a distance, maybe approach and retreat several times. This bear is asking questions. What are you? Are you dangerous? Are you food? But a hunting polar bear? Completely different animal. Head low, ears pinned back, moving with purpose. No stopping, no hesitation. They approach directly, steadily, like a guided missile. Sometimes they'll use terrain for cover, moving behind pressure ridges, using ground depressions. One researcher described it perfectly. A curious bear looks at you. A hunting bear looks through you. And here's something that'll blow your mind about their intelligence. Polar bears have one of the largest brain-to-body ratios of any land carnivore. They can solve complex problems, remember specific hunting grounds for years, even recognize individual humans. Inuit hunters tell stories of bears that remember specific snowmobile sounds, specific people who've encountered them before. Scientists tested their cognitive abilities and found they can differentiate between quantities. They know the difference between 1 seal and 3 seals, 1 human and 5 humans. They understand cause and effect. They can predict behavior patterns. One study found bears learn to associate the sound of climate research equipment with the presence of humans, even when the researchers weren't there. This isn't some mindless killing machine. This is a highly intelligent apex predator that has survived in the harshest environment on Earth by being smarter than its prey. And for thousands of years, that prey was seals. But now, with the ice melting and seals becoming harder to reach, that incredible intelligence, that patience, that deadly calculation, it's increasingly focused on a new potential food source.